Youth without old age and life without death by Petre Ispirescu. Once upon a time, that if it weren't, it wouldn't be told anymore, since when the pear tree was making pears and the osier was making little flowers, since when were the bears fighting in their tails, since when wolves and lambs held each other's necks and kissed each other, becoming brothers, since the flea was shod on one leg with 99 iron eyes and threw itself into the glory of the sky to bring us stories. Ever since the fly put its signature on the wall. Who doesn't believe is a liar. There was once a great emperor and an empress, both young and beautiful, and wanting to have children. They did several times everything they had to do for this. They visited healers and philosophers to look at the stars and guess if they would have children, but in vain. In the end, hearing the emperor that a clever uncle was at a nearby village, he sent for him. But he answered the messengers that who needs something from him, he must come to him. So the emperor and empress got up, and taking with them a few nobles, soldiers, and servants, went to the uncle's house. The uncle, as he saw them from afar, came out to meet them, and at the same time said to them, "Oh, welcome healthy! But what are you going to find out, Emperor? The desire you have will bring you sadness." "I didn't come to ask you that," said the Emperor. "But if you have any cures that will make us have children, give them to me." "I have," answered the uncle, "but you will only have one child. He will be a Prince Charming, handsome and lovable, and you will have no part of him." Taking the medicine, the emperor and the empress happily returned to the palace. And after a few days, the empress felt pregnant. The whole kingdom and the whole court and all the servants rejoiced at this event. However, before the time of birth came, the child began to cry, because no doctor could calm him down. And then the emperor began to promise him all the goods in the world. But even so, it was not possible to make him remain silent. "Shut up, my dear," said the emperor, "because I will give you this or that kingdom. Keep quiet, my son, because I will give you this or that girl of the kingdom, and many other such things." Finally, if he saw that he was not silent, he said to him, "Be silent, my boy, because I will give you youth without old age and life without death." Then the child became silent and was born. And the servants beating drums and trumpets, and great rejoicing was held throughout the kingdom for a whole day. The most of the child was growing up, the smarter and bolder he became. His parents took him to schools and philosophers and all the teaching, which other children learn in a year, he learns in a month, so that the emperor was so happy. The whole empire boasted that would have a wise and learned king like King Solomon. But for a while now, however, I don't know what was wrong with him, because he was always sullen, sad, and lost in thought. And when one day, just when the child was 15 years old, and the emperor was at the table with all the nobles and servants of the empire, and they were feasting, Prince Charming got up and said, "Father, the time has come for you to give me what you promised me at birth." Hearing this, the emperor was very sad and said to him, "Well, my son, where from can I give you such an unheard thing? And if I promised you then, it was only to appease you. Father, if you can't give it me, then I have to wander all over the world until I find the promise I was born for." Then all the nobles and the emperor fell on their knees, praying not to leave the kingdom, because the nobles said, "Your father from now on is old, and we are going to make you emperor, and you are going to bring you the most beautiful empress under the sun as wife." But it was not possible to turn him from his decision, remaining firm as a stone in his words. And his father, if he saw that, he gave him permission and arranged for him to cook meals and everything he needed on the way. Then Prince Charming went to the imperial stables where there were the most beautiful stallions in the whole empire, to choose one. But as he put his hand and grabbed each one by the tail, he threw him, and thus all the horses fell. Finally, just as he was about to go out, he cast his eyes once more around the stable, and seeing in a corner a scrawny, bubbly, and weak horse, he also went to him, and when he put his hand on his tail, the horse turned his head and said, "What do you command, master?" And stiffening his legs, he remained straight as a candle. Then the Prince Charming told him what he was going to do, and the horse said, "In order to achieve your wish, you must ask your father for the sword, the spear, the bow, the quiver with arrows, and the clothes he wore when he was young, and take care of me with your only hands for 6 weeks, and give me the barley boiled in milk." Asking the emperor for the things the horse had given him, he called the court steward and ordered him to open all the chests of clothes, so that his son could choose the ones who would like. Prince Charming, after rummaging for 3 days and 3 nights, finally finds in the bottom of an old chest his father's weapons and clothes from when he was young, but they were very rusty. He started to clean them of rust with his own hands, and after 6 weeks, he managed to make the weapons shine like a mirror. At the same time, he took care of the horse, as he had told him. He had hard work to do, but he succeeded. When the horse heard from Prince Charming that the clothes and the weapons were well cleaned and prepared, once he shook himself, and all the lumps and bumps fell from him, and he remained exactly as his mother had shown him, a fat, stout horse and with 4 wings. Seeing him like this, Prince Charming said, "We are leaving in 3 days from today." "May you leave, master. I am ready today, at your command," answered the horse. In the morning of the 3rd day, the whole court and the whole kingdom was full of mourning. Prince Charming, dressed as a brave man, with his sword in his hand, riding on the horse he had chosen, greeted the emperor, the empress, all the great and less great nobles, the soldiers, all the servants of the court, who, with tears in their eyes, begged him not to make this journey, so that he would not go to the destruction of his head. But he, spurring the horse, went out the gate like the wind, and after the dance the chariots with food, money, and about 200 soldiers whom the emperor had ordered to accompany him. After he passed out of his father's kingdom and reached the desert, Prince Charming distributed all his possessions among the soldiers, and saying goodbye, sent them back, keeping for himself only food as much as the horse could carry. And heading towards east, he went and went and went for 3 days and 3 nights, until he reached a vast plain where there were a lot of human bones. Resting, the horse said to him, "You should know, master, that here we are on the estate of a woodpecker woman, who is so bad that no one steps on her estate without being killed. She was also a woman like all women, but the curse of her parents, whom she didn't listen to, but kept bothering them, made her woodpecker woman. At this moment, she is with her children, but tomorrow in the forest you can see there, you will meet her coming to destroy you. She is so huge, but do not be afraid. Be ready with the bow to shoot her, and keep the sword and the spear close at hand so that you can use them if necessary." They retired to rest, but sometimes one, sometimes another. The next day, when dawn broke, they were preparing to cross the forest. Prince Charming settled and reined in the horse and pulled the leash tighter than before and set off when he heard a terrible knocking. Then the horse said to him, "Hold on, master, ready, because here comes woodpecker woman." And when she came, oh, she felled the trees. That's how fast she went. And the horse climbed like the wind until just above her, and Prince Charming took one of its legs with the arrow, and when he was ready to hit her with the second arrow, she cried, "Wait, wait, Prince Charming, I won't do anything to you." And seeing that he does not believe it, she inscribes it with her blood. "May your horse live, Prince Charming," she also told him, like a droll that he is, "because if it wasn't for him, I would have eaten you like a roast. But now you ate me. You must know that until today, no earthborn dared to cross my borders until here. A few madmen who dared to do it barely made it to the plain where you saw those many bones." Prince Charming and his horse left with the woman to her home, where she feasted on him and treated him like a traveler. But while they were at the table and enjoying themselves, Woodpecker Woman was moaning again in pain. Prince Charming took out suddenly her leg that he kept in the trunk, put it back in place, and immediately it healed. Woodpecker Woman, full of joy, kept the table 3 days in a row and asked Prince to choose one of the 3 girls she had, beautiful as fairies, as his wife. But he didn't want to. He told her clearly what he was looking for. Then she says, "With the horse you have and your bravery, I think you will succeed." After 3 days, he prepared for the road and set off. Prince Charming walked and walked a long way. But when he had to cross the borders of Woodpecker's Woman territory, there was a beautiful plain, on one side with flowering grass, and on the other side, Tony. Then he asked the horse, "Why is the grass tawny?" And the horse answered, "Here we are on the estate of a Randy, sister with the Woodpecker Woman. Bad as they are, they cannot live in one place. The curse of their parents reached them, and that's why they were born monsters, as you see them. Their enmity is terrible. They need a head. They want to snatch their land from each other. When the Randy is troubled, she spits fire and pitch. It can be seen that she had a quarrel with his sister, and coming to drive her from her land, he cut the grass where she passed. She is worse than her sister, and has 3 heads. Let's rest a little, master, and tomorrow, early in the morning, let's be ready. The next day, he was preparing as when he had arrived at Woodpecker Woman and set off, when they heard a howl and a scream like they had never heard before. Be ready, master, because here comes the Randy's claw. The Randy Woman, with one jaw in the sky and another on the ground, and spewing flames, approached like a swift wind. And the horse quickly climbs up like an arrow to the top and rests on her on one side. Prince Charming shoots an arrow and his head flies off. When he was about to take another head, Randy Woman prayed with tears to forgive her, not to do anything to her, and to trust him, she gave her blood. Randy Woman feasts on Prince Charming even more than the woodpecker, and he gave her back the head that he had taken with the arrow, which stuck as soon as he put it back, and after 3 days they went on. Passing over the borders of the Randy, they went and went and went again, until they reached a field of only flowers, and where there was only spring. Each flower was distinctly proud and with sweet smell. A wind was blowing that berry blue. They remained here to rest, and the horse said to him, "We were passing as we had been passing here, master. We have one more challenge. We have to come across a great danger. And if God help us to get rid of it as well, then we are strong. Forward, there is the palace where youth without old age lives, and life without death. This house is surrounded by a thick and tall forest, where all the wildest beasts in the world live. Day and night they keep awake, and they are so many. There is no way to beat them, and for us to pass through the forest, it's over maybe. But let's force ourselves, if we could, to jump over it." After resting for about 2 days, they prepared again. Then the horse, holding his breath, said, "Master, tighten the leash as much as you can, and when riding, hold on to the stairs and my mane. Keep your legs glued to my petticoat so as not to embarrass me in the flight." He climbed up, did the test, and in a minute he was close to the forest. "Master," said the horse, "now is the time when the beasts of the forest are fed and they are all gathered in the yard. Let's move." "Let's go," replied Prince Charming. He climbed up and saw the palace shining like a sun. He was passing over the forest, and just as they were about to go down the stairs of the palace, he barely touched the top of a tree with his foot, and suddenly the whole forest started to move. The animals roared, making your hair stand on end. He was in a hurry to let him down, and if the lady of the palace was not outside, feeding her babies, because that's how she called the beasts in the forest, she would surely destroy them. She was so happy to see them, so she saved them, because she never seen a human soul until then. She stopped the animals, tamed them, and sent them to their place. The mistress was a tall, thin, and cute fairy, and beautiful. As Prince Charming saw her, he was frozen. But her, looking with pity at him, said, "Oh, welcome, handsome guy. What are you doing here?" "We were looking for," he said, "youth without old age and life without death." "If you are looking for what you say, here it is." Then dismount and enter the palace. There he found 2 more women, one like the other young. They were the oldest sisters. He began to thank the fairy for saving him from danger. And they, very happy, cooked a nice dinner and only in golden dishes. He released the horse to graze wherever he wanted. Afterwards, the women presented him to all the beasts so they could walk in peace through the forest. The women begged him to live with them from now on, because they said they hated sitting all alone. And he did not wait to tell him one more time, but he received the offer with all thanks, as one who is looking for that. Slowly, slowly, they got used to each other, told each other the story of their lives and what they were going through until they got to them, and not long after, he married the youngest girl. When they married, the mistress of the house gives them permission to go through all the surrounding places, wherever they want. Only in a valley, which she showed him, they had told him not to go, because it would not be good for him. And they told him that the valley was called Valley of Wailing. He spent a forgotten time there without catching any news, because he remained as young as when he came. He was passing through the forest without even a headache. He delights in the gilded places, lives in peace and quiet with his wife and sisters-in-law, enjoys the beauty of flowers and the sweetness and cleanliness of the air like a happy man. He often went out hunting. But one day, he went after a rabbit. He shot an arrow, he shot 2, but he didn't catch him. Angry, he ran after him and shot him with a 3rd arrow, with which he hit him. But unlucky man, in his rush, had not noticed that, running after the rabbit, he had passed into the Valley of Wailing. Taking the rabbit, he returned home, when, what to see? Suddenly, he misses his father and his mother so much. He didn't dare to tell the women, but they knew him after the sadness and restlessness that they saw in himself. "You have passed, silly man, into the Valley of Wailing," they had told him, completely scared. "I passed, my dear, without intending to do so foolishly. And now I'm melting, missing my parents, but I can't bear to leave you either. I have been with you for several days, and I will not complain of any sorrow. I will go to see my parents one more time, and then I will return, so that I never go again. Don't leave us, my love. Your parents are not alive for hundreds of years, and if you leave, we fear that you will not return. Stay with us, because the thought tells us that you will die." All the prayers of the 3 women, as well as of the horse, were unable to appease his longing for his parents, which drained him completely. Finally, the horse said to him, "If you don't want to listen to me, master, whatever happens to you, you must know that only you are to blame. I will have a word with you, and if you accept my bargain, I'll take you back." "I receive," he said, "with all thanks. Say it. When we get to your father's palace, I'll drop you off, and I'll come back if you want to stay at least an hour. So be it, he said. He was getting ready to leave. He hugged the women, and after saying goodbye to each other, he set off, leaving them sobbing and with tears in their eyes. They had reached the places where Randy Woman's land was. There, they found cities. The forests had changed into plains. He asked about Randy Woman and her home, but they answered that their grandparents had heard from their great-grandfathers telling such fooling things. How could something like this happen? I passed by here the day before yesterday, and he said everything he knew. The residents laughed so much, as if he was fooling around of dreaming smart, and him angry went ahead, not noticing that his beard and hair had turned white. Arriving at Woodpecker Woman's land, he asked the same questions as at Randy's land, and received similar answers. He could not wonder how come in a few days the places have changed like this. And again, angry, he left with a white beard up to his arm, feeling that his legs were trembling a little, and arrived at his father's kingdom. Here, other people, other cities, and the old ones were changed because he no longer knew them. Finally, he arrived at the palaces where he was born. As he got down, the horse kissed his hand and said, "Stay healthy, master, because I'm going back where I left. If you want to go too, get on it right away and let's go. Go healthy, as I also hope to return soon." The horse took off like a swift arrow. Seeing the palaces broken and the weeds growing on the floors, he sighed and, with tears in his eyes, as if to remember how bright these palaces were once and how he spent his childhood in them, he went around 2 or 3 times, examining every closet, every nook and cranny that reminded him of the past. The stable where he had found a horse. Then he went down to the cellar, the entrance of which was blocked by the fallen rubble. Searching from side to side, with the white beard down to his knees, lifting his eyelids with his hands, and barely walking, he found only a damp chest. He opened it, but found nothing in it. He lifted the lid of the box, and the thin voice said to him, "Welcome. As you were late, I was also falling." His death slapped him, which had dried up because it had become a hook in the box, and fell dead, and immediately became ground. And I was riding on it, and you said so. So, my dearest, what do we learn from this story? Well, that life is as God has left it for us, no matter what we want to do it. Life is a gift from God, and we have to appreciate it just like it is.